Good evening. This is the Northern Sun Experience, and we're going to bring in former Augustana point guard Jordan Dalton a little bit earlier in this show for an extra segment. And Jordan, obviously, we're going to discuss what pretty much everyone who's a fan of the conference has been talking about, the ending of the Winona State-Sioux Falls women's basketball game from Friday night. So first, let's just set everything up. Winona State's up to 58-56 with 4.9 seconds left. Sioux Falls has the ball. They work it around, and Taylor Varsho just nails this bomb from 30 feet away, seemingly for the win. Unbelievable shot. The buzzer goes off. Red light comes on the backboard. You see a small number of fans rush on the court to celebrate the apparent victory. However, the officials need to review to see if there's still some time left on the clock. They end up putting 0.4 of a second back on and also call a technical foul on Sioux Falls for the court storming. Now, according to the official NCAA women's basketball rulebook, Rule 10, Section 2, Article 8 says, quote, team followers, which is fans, bands, cheerleaders, and mascots associated with either team, shall not commit an unsportsmanlike act, including but not limited to the following. Part D of that article states, quote, delaying the game by preventing the ball from being promptly made live or by preventing continuous play, such as, but not limited to, followers entering the playing court before the player activity has been terminated. When the delay does not interfere with play, and remember, people thought the game was over, it shall be ignored. Now, there's the letter of the law, spirit of the law debate we can have, but the officials made the call that this court storming violated the rule. Winona State's Alexis Foley gets 2 free throws because of the technical, makes them both, and Winona State runs out the remaining 0.4 for a 60-59 victory. Now, this happened Friday night. A lot of Cougar fans obviously very upset with their decision, felt that their team was unfairly punished. So on Sunday, the NSIC put out a statement that seems to share those sentiments, and you can see the statement in whole on your screen. The important parts are highlighted, and I'll read those. They include the fact that the outcome was, quote, in part affected by a misapplication of a rule, and that's the rule that you saw earlier. The letter goes on to state, quote, each of the game officials will receive a letter of reprimand and will be suspended from 4 NSIC contests. In addition, each will be ineligible to officiate in the 2016 NSIC postseason. That's, of course, the conference tournament coming up at the Sanford Pentagon in a couple of weeks. And probably the most important part, it is important to state that overturning the result of the game cannot and will not be considered, and that everyone deserves proper and consistent officiating. Okay, a lot to get through, so we're going to move backwards a little bit. What did you think of the NSIC statement?
Well, I think it was something that was necessary. Obviously, the end of the game was not handled correctly, and as a conference, the NSIC is in charge of upholding the integrity of the game and, you know, kind of creating as much of a fair play for their members as they can. And so I think with the statement, what they showed is that they are, you know, fully committed to creating a fair playing surface for all teams involved, and also the understanding that referees are going to be held responsible for not understanding and not executing the full letter of the law, you know, in this situation. You have to handle these situations correctly. It's sad to see because it's such a great game, and you want the players to determine the end of the game, obviously, as much as possible. And in this situation, that just wasn't the case. And so I think it was something that was necessary and something that they needed to do. And I think they gained a lot of respect and maintain that level of integrity from their members, you know, in the NSIC.
And of course, one of the most important parts is the fact that the result can't be overturned. Obviously, USF fans still a little upset about that, but it's the correct call. Even without that, there would be 0.4 left. You never know when Winona State can throw it up and get a tip in at the buzzer. You can't set that precedent of overturning a victory.
And I completely agree. Like you said, the Hail Mary and the tip might have been a long shot. But at the end of the day, Foley still had to step up and make 2 big-time pressured free throws to win the game. And so you can't overturn that decision of what happened as far as the result. Because if you do that, what you do is you create basically an already chaotic situation to add more chaos to it. Like you said, you don't want to set that precedent because then where does it end? And so I understand Cougar fans maybe say she shouldn't even have that opportunity, you know, to shoot those free throws. But at the end of the day, it's done. And I think that's the biggest thing that USF and the entire Cougar fan base has realized. It's something. It was a mistake. It's done. It was handled. And now they just have to move on.
And both teams did end up moving on because that was a Friday night game. And both their Saturday games, Winona State and USF, were able to win. So they were obviously able to focus after all the controversy. What does that say just about the teams? And could there be sort of a bigger picture lesson for all of this?
Yeah, for sure. You got to give a ton of credit to Coach Trapp Hagan and his staff of getting his girls ready to play on Saturday night. That is tough to come back from when you take a loss like that. Such a devastating blow to the team in general after you played such a great game against a top 15 team in the country to come out seemingly with the win and then to have it end the way it did. That takes a tremendous amount of leadership and poise from the Cougars, and I thought that's what they did on Saturday night. They came out, and they said, hey, we can't control anything. We can't change anything that happened Friday night. All we can do is move on. And I thought they did a great job of not letting that game define or dictate the rest of their season. You know, they're still in a great position to do some great things, not only in the regular season, but in postseason play. And so it's one of those things that they can come together and understand that, hey, we can play with some of the top teams in the country, and we know we can do that. We seemingly beat one of them, you know, right. and to kind of build on that momentum the rest of the way. And so I thought it was a great show of, like I said, not only leadership, but poise from everybody involved there.
Well, USF obviously focused on the positive, and when we come back, we'll focus on more positives in the weekend that was in NSIC women's hoops.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience with Jordan Dalton, talking about the rest of the NSIC women's slate. And a team that's been hot lately is Augustana, your alma mater. They've won 5 of their last 6. Nicole Kirchhoff is the South Division Player of the Week. Last season, they lost Shantiva Ashley, who led the NSIC in scoring and assists. So how has Augie been able to do so well this year, having to replace all that playmaking and all that scoring?
For sure. Well, you don't replace a player like Shantiva Ashley with one player. You do it by committee. And I think the Vikings have done a great job of doing just that. They have 4 players led by Kirchhoff that are averaging double figures this year. And so they've done a great job of everybody picking up the pieces and everybody really stepping their game up. You watch Sophie Kinney play, and she is awesome with the basketball. She has one of the best handles in the league. And so she's able to really get into the paint and create, you know, some easier opportunities for her teammates, much like Ashley did last year. And so whether it's coming off the pick and roll, whether it's one-on-one, she's able to create a lot of easy opportunities for her teammates, which is why she's averaging 4 assists per game, you know, this year. And so not one player will ever be able to step up and replace Shantiva Ashley, but they've done it by committee. And like you said, they're on a great streak here and really just playing fantastic basketball.
Augustana 13-3 overall, while Northern State continues to do well in the North Division. They've won 7 in a row, but they needed overtime to beat a struggling U-Mary team Saturday. We know defense is the hallmark of Northern State, but what about their offense makes them so efficient right now?
Yeah, and we've said it in the past weeks, but they're a team that runs a lot of set plays. And I would say it's one thing to draw up a set play. It's a whole different thing to execute that set play. And I think the Wolves do a great job of not only having multiple scoring options out of those sets, but then having counters to go against those sets. So as teams are game planning against them, it's very, very tough to take one thing away because they have so many different options. And I also think it's something that's easier said than done. They pass the ball on time, on target. You know, they're averaging 15 assists a game, which is 3rd best in the conference. So when they're executing these plays, they're getting their teammates in positions to score. And I just think they do a great job of playing efficient basketball and understanding where everybody's supposed to be on the basketball court.
Well, another team that's efficient in the North Division is Minnesota Crooks, and they have also won 7 in a row. 5 of those 7 by double digits. Alexa Thielman was the North Division Player of the Week. Hit a school record 7 threes in a game against UMD. What makes the Golden Eagles so dangerous right now?
Well, you just hit on it. Thielman is an absolute sniper from behind the arc, and she does a great job of shooting the basketball in rhythm. You know, she's not a volume shooter. She makes over 3 three-pointers a game, but she's shooting 47% from the three-point line. And so she's taking these shots in rhythm. They're, like I said, teammates are getting her the basketball on time, on target, always looking for her to knock down those shots. And so when you have that type of weapon out there, not only from her, but as a team, they're a great shooting team. You know, they shoot 43% from the field, 40% behind the line, or behind the three-point line, and also 76% from the free throw line. So every time they get a shot up, it's somebody who's capable of knocking the shot down consistently.
Well, other than the teams that we've mentioned, who are you keeping an eye on for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I think Minnesota State Moorhead. You know, they are a team that nobody's really talking about. Obviously, their men's team gets a lot of credit, and as they should. But the Dragons are also doing great. You know, right now they're 7-3 in conference, coming off a 2-win weekend, and so they've really been playing well as a team. And once again, just flying underneath the radar, which I'm sure they have no problem with. And so it's a team that I think that they're going to be tough to contend with. They got a big game Friday night coming up against Minnesota State Crooks, and I think should be a phenomenal match, and it'll really give them a measuring stick to see where they're at this year.
Well, you mentioned the Minnesota State Moorhead men. We'll talk about them and the rest of the NSIC men's slate when we come back.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Jordan Dalton here to talk about men's hoops now. And Jordan, we got to start with you, Mary. They've already had a great season, more wins than last year. They upped the ante with a win on the road at number 3 MSU Moorhead. They ended the Dragons' 16-game winning streak. Now, they ended up losing the next night to a good Northern State team. But what does that upset win against MSU Moorhead tell you about the Marauders?
Well, I think the number one thing is it tells the rest of the league that they're here. They're serious and they're for real, and they're looking to make some noise come playoff time. And so I thought they did a great job on the defensive end on Friday night. They held the Dragons to 7 points below their season average and forced 12 turnovers. And so it's kind of that old cliche, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. I thought they had a great championship-level defensive effort on Friday night. Now they just have to put some consistency behind it. Like you said, Saturday, dropped the one to Northern State. And so they just have great teams are consistent teams. And so it was a great effort on Friday night by the Marauders, and I think they're going to be a legitimate contender to compete when it comes playoff time. Yeah,
great to see, especially after they had just 9 wins last season. Meanwhile, Augie, just the same old song and dance, 2 more wins, but they were by a mere 13 points over Concordia, a mere 10 over Minnesota State. But all kidding aside, in the Minnesota State game, Augie shot 76% in the first half, 59% for the game. You know Coach Billiter obviously very well. What does he do to help these guys develop into such great shooters?
Well, I think he gives you an opportunity to gain his trust in practice. If you're showing up every day in practice, hitting shots, knocking shots down consistently, he takes notice of that. And so when you get to the games on Friday and Saturday nights, guys are playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of freedom. If you notice, every time somebody misses a shot, they're not looking over to the bench and worried if they're coming out or whatnot. They're out there just playing with a lot of freedom and a lot of confidence. And like I said, he gives you that opportunity to earn it in practice first. And so once you've established that you're able to knock down those shots consistently and you're still playing hard on the other end of the court, he's never going to yell at you for taking a shot. You know what I mean? You're going to make some shots, you're going to miss some shots. But what I think he does is he instills a level of trust in you that, hey, I understand that you've been in the gym, you've worked hard, you've put yourself in this position to improve your skills. Go out there and show it. Help us win basketball games. He doesn't care if you're a 5-man, if you're a point guard. If you can knock down shots consistently and help us win basketball games, that's all Coach Billiter is about. And I think when you have the level of skill that his players have, mix that with that confidence and the trust from the coaching staff, it's a very, very dynamic combination, which is clear and evident by their streak this year.
Obviously, Augie leads the league in scoring, and they're the only undefeated team left in conference play. Well, you mentioned last week a bit of a logjam in the NSIC South. Sioux Falls, Upper Iowa, Winona State, all 5-5 in the conference right now. USF split with Winona State and Upper Iowa this week. So of those 3 teams, which one to you looks the best currently?
And this is tough to pick out of those 3 teams because there's so much inconsistency. But I would look at Upper Iowa. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak and have scored over 80 points in all 3 of those games. And so they've proven that they can score with anybody in the league. Their thing is, can we get stops consistently on the defensive end? And with their scoring ability, they're not going to have to put together maybe a ton of stops. But when they're going to be in just about every game that they play. When you get down to crunch time, can they get those 1 or 2 stops that they're going to need to close out games? And so if they can do that, I really think they can make some strides come toward the end of the conference season here.
So Jordan likes Upper Iowa among those 3 teams we mentioned. Well, other than all the teams we've mentioned, what's a team that you're keeping an eye on this weekend?
You have to look at Minnesota State Mankato. They're doing a great job. Right now they're 6-3 in conference, and 2 of those losses have come against Augie. And so they're a team that can put essentially 5 guards on the court, kind of spread you out, make it uncomfortable for your bigs to come out and try to defend some of their quicker perimeter players. And they're just so tough and aggressive off the bounce. You love a team like that plays so aggressive. They live in the paint. They get to the free throw line. And so, like I said, with 2 of your 3 losses being against, the number 2 team in the country, not too bad to hang your hat on. And so they just have to figure out a way, number one, to continue to contend on the boards, because when they do put those 5 guards out there, it kind of leaves them susceptible, to offensive rebounds. But I think they're a great offensive team, and I really would hate to have played them toward the end of the year.
All right, thank you very much. A lot to dissect, Mr. Jordan Dalton. Well, coming up next, we go under the Northern Sun at the University of Sioux Falls.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back. It's time to shine the spotlight on one of our member schools with a feature we like to call Under the Northern Sun. Tonight, it's the University of Sioux Falls.
You can just totally tell it's just a different atmosphere when you walk on this campus. Everyone is so welcoming. People actually knew my name, and I was a recruit, and I was like, how do you know who I am? And that was super awesome. So, and to this day, 4 years later, that's still how people are. So, I mean, it was real, and it's just awesome.
I was ready for an adventure, I guess you would say, in college. I wanted to kind of go away, but God kind of led me here, which I'm so thankful for, because I couldn't have asked for a better school, coaches, and a program. Really, all around what I wanted and what I needed was right here at USF.
I feel like the mentality of trying to be the best I can be academically and athletically isn't just for myself personally, but it's for a greater purpose, to glorify God and to serve others and to strive to be a model for other people to look up to and to be inspired by. That's kind of the whole idea that I've learned here at USF.
Well, certainly I believe that by virtue of these students competing as athletes, that is developing skills in them that are going to benefit them much beyond what they're doing on the court or wherever they're playing their sport. Leadership, initiative, this drive and determination, time management, those are skills that these athletes are going to have to master in order to be successful as an athlete as well as a student. In the midst of all of this is this faith component. And I just find it very gratifying to work at a university where I can be open in sharing my faith and responding to students' questions about faith.
Our professors are willing to pull for you and willing to kind of like take you under your wing, and they want you to exceed.
Coach Stugard, he always gives us little things in life that we can take from football, because we always say that there's more to life than football, and we all believe in that. And there's just things that our coach does that really has strived to make us better character people.
If you invest your time here and get involved in activities and leadership positions, then USF will invest itself right back into you, and you will have connections and relationships that will take you far in life. I truly believe that.
You know, everyone wants to help everybody else out, and we're all rooting for each other and want everyone to do their best that they can. So it's just a really tight-knit community with all the athletes and everybody in general, and just all the Cougars are just really close, and so that's great. I really like that.
There's two kinds of education. One that helps you make a living, and the other that helps you learn how to live. When people find what God has called them to do, and they're not necessarily shouting it from the streets, this is what God's called me to do, but you see a peace in their life, you see an integration of faith and learning, and you see that they did find what they were supposed to be doing, but they get a stability to themselves and a rootedness, and then you know that something happened in those college years that made that possible. So again, not just about learning how to make a living, but learning how to live is what we strive to do.
Looking back from my freshman year to now, I'm so much more mature in my faith, in learning about just anything academically and athletically with golf. Just that experience here. And you're not doing it alone. You have 1,000 other people right beside you that you can look to for guidance.
When we come back, it's DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back. It's time for DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week. At number 5, most of Winona State's starting 5 loses track of Jordan Stotts. The USF center gets a great pass from Mac Johnson for the wide-open layup. Check it out again as the break develops. You can see the defenders looking at the ball and no one picking up Stotts. Sioux Falls would defeat Winona State by 5, thanks in part to play number 5. For number 4, Morgan Bonasic steals and scores. The MSU Moorhead junior nabs the cross-court pass and drives in for 2 against Minot State. Here it is again. The Beavers' Carrie Clemens doesn't see the streaking Banasic, and she makes Minot pay at play number 4. At number 3, Winona State escapes a double team. Conrad Masberg gets trapped on the baseline but whips the cross-court pass to Corey Jeffs for the triple. Here it is again. Masberg seemingly has nowhere to go until he uses his strength to find the open man. The escape act results in a 3 for play number 3. For number 2, Q Edwards is right on cue. His full name is Marquellis, but no matter the name, he came through in this game, hitting a layup with 8 seconds left against MSU Moorhead. Check it out again. Edwards gets the ball back after the inbounds, uses some nifty moves for 2. The Marauders upset number 3 MSU Moorhead, ending their 16-game winning streak thanks to play number 2. But for number 1, some positivity for the Dragons, although it might have been accidental. Egil Sangalo bounces the pass between the defender's legs to Isaac Seeley for the lay-in. This one needs to be slowed down. It looks like Sangalo's trying to bounce it around Minot State's Nate Mertens, but when Mertens tries to use his leg to block the pass, it inadvertently created the perfect lane for Seeley. No matter the intentions, MSU Moorhead got the home court bounce for the number 1 play of the past week. Once again, a thank you to all of our NSIC member schools for their time and contributions to this week's show. We'll be back next week with yet another Northern Sun Experience.